Hi everyone, I'm Hafsah Faizal and I'm the author of We Hunt the Flame and its upcoming sequel, We Free the Stars. So, We Hunt the Flame is my YA debut set in a world inspired by ancient Arabia, where a girl named Zafira has to venture into this villainous island where no one else has returned from and retrieve a lost artifact that can save her dying world. So her world has been bereft of magic for the past 100 years, and the land is dying. So she has to save her people from this encroaching forest that just swallows everything in darkness. So she has to retrieve this artifact and save her dying people. And at the same time, we have the prince of the kingdom, known as the Prince of Death, who is an assassin. He's sent on a similar mission by his autocratic father, the Sultan, to find Zafira, kill her and steal the artifact from her and then kill her. But when they meet up on the island, of course that's not what happens, and also they discover this ancient evil that's brewing and they might have to join forces to defeat it. So I am here today answering some questions that have come up quite a lot, and I thought I'd give you guys answers. So, how many books is in the We Hunt the Flame series? So the series is called Sands of Arawiya, and it's a duology. So We Hunt the Flame released last May, and we have the sequel, We Free the Stars, releasing January 2021. And that's it. It's a wrap. What inspired We Hunt the Flame? So the story was inspired by a back-to-back consumption of Lord of the Rings and the Hunger Games, and my sisters and I were like, what if the games were set in a fantasy world? And that sort of became the basis for the story, and it just kept building on from there, taking a life of its own. And I originally had 21 characters coming together on this island and killing each other off to win this prize, before I realized that the prize was much more than each character themselves, and it had to do with the world and the stuff that they love. And yeah, it became this monster of its own. So why did you decide to set the book in a world inspired by ancient Arabia? I started writing the book in a very Eurocentric world. At the time when I started writing, I was 19, and most books, most fantasy, whether it was written by a person of color or not, was set in some Eurocentric world or another. And that's what I want. That's what I started doing with We Hunt the Flame, because I didn't know any better. So I wrote about a third of the story, and I had been researching Welsh names and Welsh places, and I was just writing it before I realized that it wasn't working out, and I just stopped, and I decided, let me think about this. In the meantime, let me put together the world's map. I'm a designer, and so I'm a very visual person, and putting together the world's map should have helped me, and it did. I realized that the map, with this villainous island in the center surrounded by the mainland, really looked like the Mediterranean, and it was like a light bulb moment for me. Why don't I set this book in a place that's more familiar to me, which happened to be Arabia? And so I redid the whole thing. I started crafting mythology and history for the story because I wanted it to be unique, and I didn't want it to be tied to existing mythology like genies in a lamp and flying carpets, because I felt like it had been done so many times by people who weren't even from there. And so I redid the story, and it sort of took on a life of its own and became what it is today. Next question. How do you go about your world building? Like I said in the previous question, I do a lot of visual world building where I'll just sketch the map, or just little elements of where they're going now, like their path and the houses, and just doodles just so I can get a clearer picture in my mind. And then I'll set the scene. Most of the time, the scene depends on the character. So for Zafira, she'll see a place completely different to the way Nasir sees it, because she's from a village, she's poorer than most, and Nasir is rich and he's a prince, and he looks at everything with a certain type of arrogance, even if he doesn't perceive it that way. So it's really fun being able to piece together a full picture from two different viewpoints and two different people, And that really fleshes it out because each person sees the world differently, and having two lenses to view the world is really, really exciting and fun and thorough. We and the Flame is told through the point of view of Zafira and Nasir. Why and how do you go about that? Well, I think I answered the why already. The how already, but the how is that Zafira and Nasir, they just, I don't know, they just popped into my head. They didn't come one without the other. And Zafira had this really strong voice because she just cared for her family, cared for her people, and she had a story to tell. And she had so much anger in her that she just popped onto the page with all guns blazing, basically. And Nasir, I guess I needed a counter to that. Somebody who was just like Zafira, but also her opposite. And that's what Nasir became. And both of them exploring and being able to switch between the two of them was just exciting and fun. And I don't think I could have done it without either or. What can we expect from We Free the Stars? So We Free the Stars releases January 19th, just a few months away. And it will wrap up the story and maybe leave a few loose threads hanging because that's how I like to go about things. But you can expect betrayal, a lot of angst, because why not? There's also a missing eyeball. Somebody takes the throne at some point. I think I'll leave it there. Yeah, so that's basically it. All you need to know about We Hunt the Flame and the world of Arawiya. So We Free the Stars releases January 19th, and it's available for purchase and pre-order through Macmillan, Waterstones, and basically any online retailer because everyone's at home now. And you can find me online at Hafsah Faizal on Twitter, Instagram, and I have my website, hafsahfaizal.com. Thanks so much for listening and tuning in. Bye!